Artlist.io. Music licensing reimagined.
Don't mess it up this time.
Oh my God. Seriously? Leave it in. Leave it in. We're going with this. Hello and welcome back to Our Business Shenanigans, where see, now you've got me all flustered. Okay. All right.
Stop gaslighting me.
Saw.
And
Welcome
go.
back. Welcome back to Our Business Shenanigans, where strategy meets sarcasm and entrepreneurship gets reeled. Hosted by myself, Jen, and Nicole, my best friend, this podcast dives into the raw, unfiltered side of running a business. The wins, the failures, and the hilarious chaos in between. Whether you're scaling a company, navigating the latest marketing trends, or just trying to survive another Monday, we bring practical insights, candid conversations, and a whole lot of business mischiefs.
And sometimes really annoying, like when you hire a vendor and suddenly you're the villain in your own story.
Oh, you mean like when your bookkeeper forgets to reconcile for 3 months and then acts like she's even shocked that you noticed?
Or when a marketing agency sends you an invoice but no actual results and then says it's probably something you did on your end.
Yeah, that kind of vibe. Today we're talking about gaslighting vendors because unfortunately it's a thing. And no, you're not just being dramatic.
We're breaking down how to spot the red flags, what to say when it starts happening, and how to protect your peace and your bank account.
Yeah, because if you've ever paid someone to make your life easier and ended up doing their job for them, this one's for you. So let's get into it. All right, so let's talk about the term vendor gaslighting. Vendor gaslighting happens when a service provider like a bookkeeper, recruiter, marketing agency, anybody really that you hire makes you, the client, feel like the problem, even when they're the one dropping the ball. It's when they deny that there's an issue, even when their results or deliverables are missing, blames you for their mistakes. You must have misunderstood. You didn't give us what we needed. Talks in confusing jargon to make you feel incompetent, makes you second guess your instincts, data, or expectations, or they act defensive or dismissive when you raise concerns.
Basically, you're paying them to help your business and they make you feel like you're a burden for expecting results. Ultimately, it's manipulative, unprofessional, and way too common in small business circles, especially with overhyped experts who overpromise and underdeliver.
Yeah. I think it's easy for small businesses to be taken advantage of, and that's why we wanted to dive into this episode, because we've been there.
Yes,
Actually,
I will
times
say,
than I care to admit.
and we've used a lot of the same companies.
Yes.
The crazy thing is, through it, I don't regret any of it. I mean, maybe a little, right? But it has taught me to inspect what I expect, right?
Yep.
Before, I didn't know anything about QuickBooks. I'll never forget going to do my taxes last year. I've been using the same tax lady since I started my business. And she looked at my paperwork that I gave her, and she told me, she said, Nicole, it was better when you were winging it by yourself. Like, that's bad when you're paying. That is not what you want to hear as a business owner when you're paying over $800 a month for an accountant.
Yikes. No, not at all. There should be zero issues. There should be zero fixing at that price. Oh my gosh. No, thank you.
How was my office supplies for an entire year in the negative? And she gave me this report so boldly, like so confident. And I don't know what I'm doing, right? Well, then I just trusted the professionals knew better than me.
Right. Yeah. Unfortunately, we had the same bookkeeper around that time. And I had the audacity of asking her how I pull a specific report. And I was just being silly for even asking that question. And she couldn't provide it for me because that is proprietary information. Literally, I just wanted to know how to see. I think I was looking for payroll. I wanted to see what was going under office staff and what was going under our technicians, the way we run our payroll. And apparently that was proprietary, and I was silly for even asking. Literally, she called me silly in an email.
I just want to say she used the word proprietary wrong. But in her sentence, I read it. But it is relating to an owner or ownership. She does not own your reports. You weren't asking for her internal information. You were asking how to pull a report from our godsend Gusto.
Right. Right.
So,
And not only that, at the end of the day, accounting is not proprietary. It is straight math. Like there's not really anything that you are doing with journal entries or collecting, categorizing transactions or anything like that that is priority or proprietary or prioritary. I don't know. I make up my own words. Leave me alone.
she did too, apparently.
I know all
But
the knowledge is.
if you don't know what that's from, you need to go back and find it.
Yeah.
Let's not even forget when we were using gray skies. And I'll name drop. When I was using gray skies, I'll never forget going in and I'm trying to understand why every single month in a year, my phone bill was classified different. One month it's under marketing. They love putting everything in marketing. Like my marketing was ridiculous. But I don't understand why my phone bill is in marketing. It's not, I promise.
Can I tell you something that's even funnier about that? Is that at the time that bookkeeping company did bookkeeping, but they also did recruiting, and they were classifying my recruiting costs under bookkeeping.
And you were
Because it was
using
from
both.
their company. Yes, I was using both. So my recruiting costs were going under bookkeeping because it was under the same company, not because that was actually a recruiting cost or anything.
And then my favorite is we have a friend that used gray skies too. And she started using them, say it was like, I'm saying gray skies.
I know you are. No, I'm thinking about her situation
Oh.
and how bad it was.
Oh, I'm not even going to talk about the over $12,000 one friend is in trying to still clean up that mess. But
won't mention that.
they deleted all of her invoices. But it was her fault for years, right? Years of invoice. Yeah, that's crazy. But we have another friend. I forget what year she started using them. We'll just say 2024. Started using them, whatever. Why did they go in to like 2022? It was like a year previous when they weren't even her bookkeeper and started altering our books. Like we're talking a year where the taxes have already been filed. Why are you in there altering those books? But then when you bring it to their attention, you're the bad guy. You're wrong. And it was clearly, I think the biggest thing with Gray Skies is there were too many hands in everyone's books.
Yes, I agree.
I didn't understand why my bookkeeper was emailing me, asking me questions about how to do QuickBooks. Honey, I pay y'all for this.
I don't know how to do anything in QuickBooks. That's why I hired somebody.
Why are you
that's just-
what?
When you hire a company, you expect them to do the thing you hired them to do, right? Like we couldn't say have somebody hire us to clean their house and then never show up and be like, "Well, sorry, you actually wanted me to clean your house?" No, I can tell you how to do it, or I can ask you questions about it, but I'm not actually going to clean it. That's not how this works.
And the worst thing is the damage that they did along the way. That's like imagine us cleaning someone's house weekly, and every time we went in, we were breaking something, but then still expecting that person to pay us.
Yeah. Hey, remember when that one bookkeeper filed your S corp and backdated it to 2022?
It's my fault because I signed it.
I mean, clearly you are not reading your documents well enough. I think that it boils down to is that businesses, whether it's their predatory or it is lack of knowledge, it's easy for businesses like bookkeeping and recruiting and digital media and so many other things to get away with not doing a good job because as a small business owner, you can't possibly have your hands in everything. Like you're not a bigger company where you've got somebody who does HR and you've got somebody who does AR and AP and all of that. So it's easy for them to get away with it for a while until something major goes wrong and you go, wait a second, I really need to dig into this. And then you see all of the issues.
Yeah. And not to mention the accountant that I was paying over $800 a month for. Every time you brought an issue to her, it would take like 30 business days to get a response.
Or you could pay to schedule a meeting with her for 15 minutes.
And not to mention when everything blew up and you and I dropped her on, oh, actually, she sent you a really shitty email. And I immediately, because of course, screenshots, like Jen and I are going to share everything. She said, Jen sent me the email, and within an hour, I emailed her discontinuing services. And it's funny that she has that whole, you have to cancel 30 days in advance, whatever. The moment I canceled services, they did absolutely nothing in my books, but I still had to pay for the next month. And you can look your audit history. Just so everyone's clear, if you have somebody touching your books, you should be monitoring your audit history faithfully to actually see what is getting done. But on average, I was getting about 2 hours worth of bookkeeping. It was all wrong, but about 2 hours, and I was paying over 800 a month. So, I mean, heck, I used her for how long? Over 6 months, almost a year. Or actually, over a year. Was it a year?
No, I think it was probably around 9 months or more. Somewhere around 9 months.
So, and in that time, I was just trusting. I was like, look, I'm paying premium pricing. She's got to be the best. I never want to go through what I went through with Grace, guys. She actually, the biggest slap in the face is when I met her was at a bookkeeping class she was hosting that was showing you how to inspect your books to know what your bookkeeper's doing. As I'm in this class and I'm looking at my QuickBooks due to her guidance, so she knows what to look for, I'm breaking down crying because my books are such a mess and I did not realize it. So she saw me break down, and that's why I hired her, because she sounded like she knew what she was talking about.
Yeah.
And
then fast forward 3 months later, she's making those same red flags she's now doing in your books.
And then when we fire her, we're the issue. She's got her mom all over social media basically calling us the mean girls. Her mom is so delulu, it's insane. But realistically, at the end of the day, what I don't understand is, as we're like collectively like in this group together of a handful of people that, like, what, 5 of us that have been severely burned by her, we're seeing all these reviews from other people come out where people are like, she scammed me, I lost $10,000, or this or that, or she didn't file my taxes and she ghosted me, you name it.
Yep.
We're talking.
And nonprofits that she did the same thing to, which is, I mean, a business is one thing, but a nonprofit, like, that's a whole different level of ick.
And not to mention, it was like maybe like what, 20 random people we weren't even associated with that we saw blasting her, but she doesn't have any accountability. She thinks that she is not the problem and that we're just the mean girls.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
insane.
crazy.
It really is.
Accountability is not in her vocabulary, but proprietary is.
No. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I don't.
We have so many stories that we could share.
Stories, like, and not just about bookkeeping, about all kinds of things. But if you're more confused, anxious, or you feel like you constantly have to prove you're not the problem, this episode is for you. So, specific vendor gaslighting tactics to call out. If they're saying things like, you're the only one who's ever had this issue, that's a classic isolation tactic, and they're trying to make you feel like you're overreacting.
Or if they say, you didn't give us clear instructions, even when you did and probably have it in writing, it is deflection. I have a story on that I'll share later.
Okay, perfect. Make note of it so we don't forget. Overusing jargon to confuse or stall you. It's all in the back-end tracking system. Let me check the pixel integrity of your CTA funnel. If you can't understand what you're saying, they're trying to hide something.
Or they're delayed or vague communications. They don't give straight answers to avoid specific questions about results or accountability. Correct. Like your accountant ghosting you, but she's across the state getting a boob job.
I mean, listen, guys.
All right, these are still wounds. Very expensive wounds.
Maybe we shouldn't be sharing this. These have not quite scarred over. Also, another red flag is when they're flipping blame when results are poor. Well, maybe our offer isn't good enough. The algorithm is weird this month. Never, we dropped the ball. I'm sorry. Here's what we're going to do to fix it.
And no transparency with data or deliverables. They don't send reports, updates, or proof of progress until you chase them down.
Right. Guilt tripping or a gaslighting in tone. We've spent so much time on this already, or I just don't feel like you trust us. Translation, they're uncomfortable with being held accountable.
I want to touch on really quick the clear instructions. My favorite is when they say you didn't give clear instructions. I have one vendor that I emailed, I think it was over 7 times in 1 year, saying, hey, this is wrong. 7 times in writing. And then finally, when I womaned up and I started digging, I see where everything I said those 7 times that I was being told, like, oh, that's just how the algorithm is, da 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 da, whatever. I literally see where it's intentional. Everything I said, it was just pointless. But I
Yeah.
can't speak too much because I still use that vendor. So
See how we're saying this episode is more about wounds and not scars? Completely disregard what we talked about in the other issue, in the other episode where we said we only share scars. This one is still fresh. So why does this happen, Nicole?
well, vendors act this way from lack of systems or structure, lack of integrity, emphasis on that one, overpromising too close to the sale, insecure service providers afraid to admit failure, and thinking small business owners won't push back.
Yeah, I think that I think a lot of what we have experienced is that a company gets really big almost overnight, and instead of stepping back and saying, hey, I'm going to put you on a waiting list, we don't have room for new clients, they just keep taking on clients, and then they're hiring like almost retroactively, like reactively, to get these things done, and they're not necessarily hiring for skill, they're hiring to fill a space. And then you have bookkeepers who are calling you going, hey, what do I do with this transaction? Hey, how do I enter this, or whatever? That's literally your job. Why are you not trained to do that? So if you are a vendor out there and you're listening, I'm hoping you don't fall in this case anywhere, but do
better.
Do everybody a favor. If you start blowing up overnight, slow down and stop and say, listen, we can't take on any more clients right now. We have to hire somebody else solid for our team so that we don't let our clients down. Because at the end of the day, a huge blow up, like kind of what's happened with our bookkeeper and some other people that we know, is way more damaging than just saying, I'm sorry, I can't take you on as a client right now. We're not staffed appropriately, and we can't take care of our current clients the way we should until we get hired up.
That's like, I'm putting it into the perspective of our businesses. And when people call, when we're booked for a week, we have to schedule them out to the following week or what have you. A lot of these vendors that we deal with just take everybody, but there's no more hours in the day to take them on. Right? So I think that that's a lot of what happens. But when you're paying, especially when you're paying premium pricing, it's not fair to the people. Right? I can't charge all these people for a clean house, but they never show up. And that is what is happening.
Yeah. Yeah. So some vendors are disorganized, some are dishonest. The worst are both. So how do you handle it when it starts? So practical strategies: document everything in writing. Get it in writing. Always. Your scopes, expectations, deliverables, timelines. Protect yourself. No matter, even if they're a friend of yours, everything needs to be documented.
And ask direct questions and watch how they respond. You are allowed to ask questions. A professional vendor welcomes accountability. If they get defensive, that's a red flag. You're also allowed to expect clarity. If you don't know what's being done or what you're paying for, that's a problem.
Yeah. And on that one thing that I absolutely love is the bookkeeper that I have now asks a million questions. I love it so much. She never makes assumptions. She will ask me a million questions. She lets me ask her a million questions. I was looking at something and I was like, hey, is this supposed to be categorized here? I just noticed it. I never noticed that before. And she's like, yeah, and here's why. And she educates me on it. She never makes me feel like I'm not trusting her because I'm asking a question. She genuinely wants to educate me. So don't be afraid to say that's not acceptable. You deserve partnerships, not power struggles. If they can't own their mistakes, they don't deserve your money.
And you can set hard boundaries, timelines, deliverables, and consequences.
Yep. Know when to walk and when to warn others. It's okay to walk away. Don't stay out of guilt, lost funds, or fear of starting over. I know that I stayed with the one bookkeeper way too long because I was trying to save a relationship that I thought was there, which was not there. And I didn't speak up about it because at the end of the day, I don't ever want to badmouth somebody if we are just truly not a good fit for each other. There are times we get clients that are cleaning clients that we're just not a good fit. And that's okay. There is somebody out there that will be a good fit for them. Sometimes it happens. So if I have a bad experience with a vendor, I'm not going to talk about it if it's just a one-time thing. But when I see it coming up on Facebook that people are tagging this person and saying, oh my gosh, I can't get a hold of this person. They didn't file my taxes. I don't know what to do. And more people are doing that. Then it's time to speak up and start saying, no, we had the same issue, because it can't keep happening. It's not fair to small businesses.
You don't owe anyone endless grace while they torch your bank account and blame you for handing them the lighter.
Correct. So how to avoid it in the first place? Some prevention strategies. Obviously, you want to ask for references. And with the references, how long have they been a client? Not, give me a reference of your most recent client that's super happy because you've only been with them a month and it seems like you're doing everything great. I want to talk to somebody who's been with you since you started your business, or maybe, 2-3 years, something like that. As we said before, get everything in writing and ask to see some sample deliverables or reports.
Especially with the references portion, if you are a marketing company, if I go to your website and your website sucks, that's a red flag, right?
Yeah.
Make expectations crystal clear before paying anything. Trust your gut. If you feel talked down to or brushed off early, believe it. Look for humility and clarity, not hype and jargon.
Yeah. A good vendor will educate and empower you. A bad one will confuse and drain you. So like I said with my bookkeeper, she truly wants a partnership. And so everything that she does, she uses it as an education for me because she wants me to know what's going on in my books. She doesn't want a client who just hands them the numbers and walks away and doesn't come back. She wants you to know, she wants you to be educated, because you can't make sound financial decisions if you don't know your numbers. And you will probably hear us harp on that a lot because knowing your numbers is so important. And I'm going to speak, I think, for Nicole with this as well. We went a very long time without having any idea what numbers to look at, what they even meant, how to change them, or any of that stuff. So you have to start looking at your numbers.
Not to mention, if everything is misclassified, especially, or things are not input in, or if your bookkeeper gets journal entry happy, a P&L means nothing. A P&L, you don't want to wait until the end of the year. Like, I can't wait until the end of the year to find out how much money I made that year, right?
No.
How do you operate that way? That is mind-boggling. So many people run like that. And with that being said, it's you can't even make financial decisions. I remember with the premium pricing accountant that you waited, like you needed to make a hire in your office, but you wanted your P&L to make sure you could afford it. And didn't it take you like 2 or 3 months to get a P&L?
Oh yeah, I actually ended up hiring the person part-time, not even knowing if I could afford them, because I was like, I don't want to lose out on this person. But what it was is, so we have a very specific number we want to stay within for our admin fee, or our admin portion payroll. And that's roughly around 7-8%, not including owner's pay, because I'm still in the day-to-day, just like you're in the day-to-day. So we take a salary that also comes out of admin, but that's not included in that 7 or 8%. I needed to know what that number was, and she had me lumped in with everything and a couple other things, and I was like, that's not how this works. I just need to know what my admin is. I know if I look at my percentage, yes or no, I can afford to hire somebody. But if I'm looking at it and you don't have things broken out of there, then how can I make a sound financial decision?
There's so much to it. I'll never forget going over some marketing stuff. And I was comparing our leads. I said, look, I was paying less and I was getting it was like 200 leads a month. Now I'm paying more and I'm getting maybe 100 leads a month, right? And I'm like, how do we get back to there? Do I need to up my budget? I understand these marketing places cost more with the times, you name it. But what do I need to do to get back to them as 200 leads a month? And with that said, I was gaslit into, well, there's other things you need to look into. How's the sales process? Are you actually and it's like, I don't know what you're understanding. First off, our process, it's good, right? Mm-hmm. That isn't the issue when I can literally see that our leads are cut in half. Right. How do we get back to that? So yeah, I can make, what do I need to do? Give out free cleanings to get the closed leads that I was getting with it. You see what I'm saying? I don't know what more we could do. It's not the sales process that's broken because our conversion rate is where it needs to be. It is the leads coming in the door. So I didn't like how I brought that up, and it's like, you're trying to blame me and our sales process when, if anything, it's just gotten better.
Yeah. No, you're deflecting. You're pushing the blame on somebody else. Yeah, and I would venture a guess. If you had half the amount of leads, but they were all solid qualified leads and you were closing 80% of them, it wouldn't be an issue. But you weren't getting more qualified leads. You were getting fewer leads that were still just average leads. They weren't great leads. That's where
I
the
went
frustration comes
through
from.
in a 3 month span, it was over $2,000 in marketing spend wasted in 3 months for leads that were outside of our service area or did not qualify for our scope. That's not acceptable, especially when I have 7 emails addressed prior to that 3 month. The 7 emails mentioning this, that was a lack of negative keywords
Yeah.
that should have been addressed the first email I sent.
Yeah, you're right. I spent $849 on 2 leads because we were targeting a desktop computer. Did you realize that in Google Ads, you can target cell phones, tablets, desktop computers, whatever? And because we targeted desktop computers, I got 2 leads from that, which cost me $849.
I did not know that.
Yep. Listen, I have learned so much since I have switched to this new marketing company. Good, bad, or indifferent, they may be terrible in the long run. Right now, they have just absolutely blown my mind about the things that they do. The amount of communication that they have given me in this first, 2 months of being with them, month and a half of being with them, 2 months, I think surpasses all of the communication that I had with my last person. And that person built my website, and I was with them for about a year and a half, almost 2 years.
I think VAs are a good one at gaslighting.
Oh my gosh. Yes. I forgot about VAs. You are correct.
Oh, I didn't.
You are correct. We've had some terrible VA experiences, or I have anyway. And you know what? At the end of the day, maybe I'm the common denominator, and maybe I should just realize that and try to change myself. I don't know. But no, I know that there are people who do the VA model very well, and they are a well-oiled machine. And my God, I wish that I could duplicate that here. And I know that the VA issue is more of a me issue because I've not set up that kind of communication where it works well for us. I know it can be done. However, when you're working with a company and you have spent and invested all the time, energy, and effort in training them for a specific role, and they're doing great, and then all of a sudden they're not doing great, and you have conversations, and it's like, well, you don't have the training there. Well, how is it? You've been here now 6 months. How has the training changed? It's the exact same thing you've been doing since day one. Well, do you have more training you could give them?
Not to mention when they delete your entire Google Drive and it's your fault.
That didn't happen.
Too soon?
Remember?
Too soon?
That didn't
Yeah,
happen,
oh no, that didn't
remember?
happen.
Oh, but wait, it did. I had the screenshots that I could send and say, it did happen, and you actually did know about it.
That's where you know it's a problem. When you feel like you're going crazy because you're like, we just talked about this, and then you start digging in your history and coming with the receipts.
Yeah.
That's when you have a problem, when it's like, wait a minute. Now, I'm gracious. Like, we can talk about something once or twice. Fool me once, shame on you, right? Fool me twice.
Right.
It's really
Shame on
fool
me,
me
yeah.
20 times, shame on me, because I will give you too many chances.
Same.
But I believe in a working relationship of communication, right?
And accountability. If I have messed something up, tell me. No, Jen, you did not give us that. Here is where I asked for it. There is no response to that. Okay, I am so sorry. Let me get on top of that right now. I will get you that information. I will take care of it for you. And numerous times I have worked with other companies that I have asked that question. Did I miss this somewhere? Did I not get you this information? Did you request it? Can you show me where you requested it? But replying with, I've requested it numerous times. Just search the chat for this word and you'll see it. And I searched the chat for that word, and guess what I didn't find? That word anywhere. And when I brought it up to the person, well, yeah, I didn't find it either, but I know that I have mentioned it to you before. Well, how are you going to double down on that?
That lady she was crazy. She was batshit crazy.
It was a lot. Nicole sends the screenshots.
I'm actually mad that you fired her because it was like the entertainment of my day.
Oh my gosh, it was something every single day. But okay, so in all actuality though, the VA that they gave us, I loved. If I could have just kept the VA, I would have absolutely kept the VA if I didn't have to keep the agency that she was working for. But that's a no-no, which I understand completely. Like, she's got to protect her intellectual property and all of that stuff. So I get that. But the difference is when you have a company, like I've talked about my bookkeeping, that truly wants to educate you. I've been talking about my digital media company that I've gone to now too. They have asked so many questions. They have worked with me on so many things. They have spent countless hours getting things done right, to the point where now most everybody knows what Go High Level is. I have a Go High Level account. So every single lead that I get, they have funneled through Go High Level so that it is tagged in Go High Level, not just that it came from Google or just that it came from Facebook, but it actually tags the specific ad that it came from. So I can see what ads are generating, more leads than others, which ones are working. So as we build this history with them, we will have a record of what's working and what's not working and what we need to tweak and where we need to move it. And it's so, they're in my system so much that like they will literally send me an email, Jen, this lead's been sitting in the needs contacted status for about 2 days now. Why hasn't anybody contacted them? Not really 2 days, but so like it's a complete stark at opposite ends of the spectrum from the one marketing company I was with to the marketing company that I'm with now.
We should have them on an episode.
Oh, absolutely. They would love to do that. I have brought, so the coaching program that I do, the Profit Pathways, I have brought them in to talk to my clients, to educate my clients on what to look for, what questions to ask when you're searching out a digital media company and everything. Because digital media is one of those things where it just feels like hocus pocus in the background, and they could really tell you anything, and you kind of are forced to believe them unless you're going to take the hours it takes to learn Google ads, Facebook ads, what the algorithm is, and all of that stuff. It's easy for a digital media company to say, oh yeah, we're spending all your money in Performance Max leads. That's where you should be. You're getting tons of leads. As opposed to me saying, but doesn't it make more sense to be in search leads? Because they're actually searching out a housekeeper, in the search leads. No, we're going to get you way more leads with Performance Max, and they're cheaper leads. Well, I don't want cheaper leads just to keep my salesperson busy all day. I want qualified leads. I want people who are actually looking for somebody who is cleaning houses. So the thing that really made me mad about that is when I had that conversation with my last digital person, they kept doubling down. Nope, Performance Max is where it's at. That's where your budget needs to be. Let's keep it there. And then I literally logged in the next day, and they had flipped my budget. So
what they don't realize, so it looks good on paper because you've had this many clicks and you only paid this much for a click, right? What they don't understand is those clicks are useless to me if they're outside of my service area or not even in my scope of work, or if they actually go as far as submitting the quote request form. Now I am paying the payroll and wasting the time of my salesperson. So yeah, it looks good numbers wise to you, but number wise to me, it's not, because we still have opening on our schedule. I would rather pay $20 more for a lead if that lead is actually a 50-50 if it's going to book or not. Then my time in payroll is better spent actually invested into that lead. But they're not seeing that side of it.
No, because they just want numbers. We sent you 200 leads this month. Yeah, but they were all people wanting a clean today. That's not something we can accommodate. Those aren't good leads. How do we dig for the quality leads? We were getting phone calls in our Google account from Mexico.
How is that even possible?
It was. Because you can go into, for those of you who don't know, you can log into your Google Ads account if you have one, and you can actually see every single phone number that calls you by clicking on your ads, and it'll have their phone number. And if you have the call recording turned on, it will actually record the call for you too. But we were going through that, and I had calls from Mexico. Why do I have calls from Mexico? Location is like one of the easiest things to do.
I had to go in and make every state red besides mine. So I have like 49 states, and then I had to break down the state of Virginia for all the zip codes in Virginia, which there's thousands. And I had to manually negative like over half the state of Virginia, like just to isolate our leads.
That's crazy. But why
are
you
should...
doing that? You're paying somebody.
Yeah, I know.
That little bit of silence right there was perfect. That's all I needed.
I can't even combat that. I can't. Like, I know that. But it's one of those things that's like the familiar, the fear of the unknown, right? It's like, I'm comfortable. I know. I just don't, I'm scared to touch it. Like, I'm at a good place. I will say, I really like my marketing person as a person. I love him. He's great. And he does decent, don't get me wrong, but I think I'm a little salty about not being heard for the 7 emails in a year. And then when I finally went in and looked, I'm a little salty about that. But I will say, I think that otherwise he does a good job.
I think you have every right to be salty. And I will give him that. So we were using the same person. And when my new digital media company took over, or when I was talking to them about switching, they're like, listen, whatever he's doing SEO wise, he's done amazing. Your SEO is fantastic. Like, we wouldn't change any of that. Now, the Google ad side of it is a little bit different and clear issues. Things that I didn't even know you needed. Like, when you do a Google ad, it should take them to a landing page, not your dedicated website. A landing page that is specific to your website, but not your regular homepage, because you want the call to action right there. You want them, it's to make it as friction free as possible. So when you click on our Google ads now, it takes you to a landing page that looks identical to our website, but it doesn't have the toolbar across the top, because you don't want them to get buried in your website. You want them to fill out the information for the quote right there. You don't want them to have to search for it or hunt for it or find it or whatever. So all of our ads have a call tracking number. All of them have a landing page now. I didn't even know that was a thing before. Not to mention, before, my reports kind of looked like, hey, here are all of the conversions you got this week. Here's your cost per conversion. And that was basically about it. My reports now are like, hey, we don't even consider them a conversion until you spend 30 seconds on the phone with them. So that whole, hey, a conversion is a click to your website, not in my book anymore. A conversion by my digital media company standard is a 30-second or more phone conversation. That's what they are basing their conversions on.
I feel like this is its own episode.
It is. Sorry. I could go on about this all day. I could go on
Yeah,
about
but
so
you're
many things
only
all day.
so passionate about that because of what you've been through.
Absolutely.
Just like the
And because I
bookkeeping
don't wanna
side.
I don't want to see anybody else screwed over. I know so much more about my bookkeeping now than I ever knew before. And I will gladly sit down with anybody and look through their stuff and see if they need help and see, if I notice any red flags. I've done it for a few other friends and things like that, because as I've said probably a million times already on this podcast, people don't start a business because they are good at business. They start a business because they're good at a thing. I was good at cleaning houses. I accidentally started a business because of it. I have had to learn all of this stuff after the fact. And if I can help other people save, $5,000 that I'm out from the one bookkeeper, then I would happily do that for them. Because for super small businesses, that's life-changing. $5,000, to be out $5,000 with nothing to show for it is, that could be the difference between bankruptcy or payroll or whatever one week. And I don't want to see any small business go through that.
So, in closing, the final thoughts: you're not crazy. You're not too demanding. You're just a business owner trying to get what you paid for. And your job is to lead your company. Their job is to deliver, period.
Correct. So if you've enjoyed this episode, share it with somebody who might be struggling with some of the vendors that they have. Again, like we said earlier, it's not about loyalty. At the end of the day, it's about protecting your business. So subscribe, leave a review, share this with somebody in the middle of a vendor nightmare, and DM us your own vendor horror stories. We might share it on a future episode. And just as a little bit of a teaser, our next episode will be with a bookkeeper. So we are going to be able to ask her all kinds of questions. If you've got questions for the bookkeeper, submit them. But we'll talk to her about, what to look for when you're hiring a bookkeeper and what red flags to try to stay away from.
All right. Have a good day.
Have a great day. Bye.